Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more buckshot testing, and today we've got a new choke that has been highly requested by a number of you guys over the past several months. I said I was going to get one and I just so happened to find them on sale somewhere, so when I saw it I had to pick one of them up because it could be another pretty nice performing choke with a lot of different buckshot loads. So we'll see what we can get from it for our starting point today. But as for that choke, I've had a ton of you guys want to see one of these. This is a Carlson's buckshot choke. It's a 700 constriction, and it does say that it's supposed to be a full choke on here. Now this is for Remington shotguns, and I have found that a lot of Remington shotguns are down in the low 690s on their typical full choke constriction, but 700 seems to be a pretty decent all-around performing constriction when it comes to buckshot. Reading off the back of the box here, it says that it's designed to throw good patterns with double-aught, triple-aught, 1-buck, and 4-buck loads, and it supposedly has a 25% longer parallel section, thus throwing tighter patterns downrange. How true is all that? I don't know, but a bunch of you guys have wanted to see one of these Carlson 700 buckshot chokes, so we'll see what it's capable of. For the shotgun we're going to run it in, I brought out my Remington 1187. It's got a 28-inch barrel on it. This is a pretty good all-around performer when it comes to any decent buckshot choke or buckshot load. This tends to give some pretty nice patterns. And for the shells we're going to run through it today, I brought out some of the classic Winchester Super X loads, the 2 3/4-inch 9-pellet double-aught shells at 1325. These are about the standard when it comes to average buckshot. They're not anything super impressive for performance on their own through just stock flush chokes, but you can dial them in a little bit with a good aftermarket choke. So I figured we'll start with the standard and see what we get from this Carlson 700 buckshot choke with these Super X loads. But as for our test today, everything is set up the same as usual. I've got the big sheet of paper at 40 yards, the chrono so we can get our velocity, and the templates that we can lay up over our results. So let's get you guys a view of that target. We'll throw in this Carlson's buckshot choke and see what we get when we run some Super X 9-pellet loads through it. I don't know what we're going to get yet. I haven't really seen anybody else test this choke, so let's take our shot and see what it's able to give us. Alright, so that shell gave us 1287 through the chrono. Boss claim is 1325. So we didn't quite see their boss claim from our 28-inch barrel, but we're not too far off. Right around 1300 is pretty average for your typical double-aught buck load. So we still have plenty good enough velocity, but let's go check out our target and see how these Super X shells actually pattern through that Carlson's buckshot choke. Okay, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and we definitely see some little bit interesting results. The white dot was the point of aim, the paper's 36 inches wide, and we did have all 9 pellets on the paper. Now initially, right off the bat, this is what I would call a minor improvement. This is not a bad pattern at all, but that buckshot choke did not condense these down as much as I thought that it might. Now I did measure the farthest 2 points across, which is pretty much left to right, is right at 17.5 inches worth of spread. So size wise, it's really not too bad. We do have a void right below our white dot there. That's kind of right in the middle of our pattern as well. That definitely isn't perfect. So I don't think it gave us a ton of improvement on the overall size, maybe a couple inches or so, but I do think it helped condense the flyers and stuff because we really don't have a 9th pellet flyer in here. And with these basic Super X loads that are just buffered, they're not plated, they don't have a wad or anything, usually we do have a couple flyers. So I do think it helped condense the edges down just a little bit, which contributes to our little bit smaller overall size pattern. So overall, I do think it did help, but so far it does not appear, at least with these Super X loads, that it tightened them down as much as some other chokes like the Kicks Buck Kicker or the Trulock Bore Blaster or anything like that. I think those did pattern these a little tighter. But let's throw a few templates up. That'll give us a little better reference than just a blank sheet of paper. So first up is our 10-inch circle, and if we put it dead center of our pattern, where you would imagine the core should be, we had 2 and maybe a half pellet up at the very top that were in our 10-inch circle at 40 yards. If we scooted that template around towards the edge of the pattern, we would pick up a couple pellets, but this pattern really doesn't have all that great of a core area. But I mean, you can see the size is not too bad at all. Nothing special for a 10-inch circle for our core, but let's throw some animal templates up and see how it looks if you take it out on an actual hunt. So next up, we have a deer template. If we line it up with our point of aim, we would have 6 of the 9 pellets that would have hit our deer, 3 of which are right through the vital area there, maybe a touch high, but still that would absolutely be a dead deer. However, you can see that it really doesn't have all that impressive of a core. It's just kind of little groups of pellets around there. So on one hand, yes, it's good enough. On the other hand, it is not the best we've seen from these as well. Would it do the job? Yes. But would running these through a standard flush full choke do the same thing? Probably so. But if you had this choke and wanted to run it with these, it would be good enough for a 40-yard deer hunt scenario. So let's throw the hog template up. I think it's going to be pretty well the same for him as well, but at least we'll take a look at it. And here's that hog template, and like I suspected, pretty well the exact same story. Good enough, but nothing that's going to blow us away either as far as pattern performance. So overall, this is not a terrible pattern. A 17.5-inch spread with 9 pellets of double out at 40 yards, I would say is pretty much the median average across the board. Once you get less than that, you're really starting to get a nice buckshot pattern. More than that, and it starts to spread out kind of all over the paper. So I would call this pretty average. It is absolutely usable, but I don't think that Carlson's 700 buckshot choke really gave us any drastic improvement. Might have condensed a couple flyers down, but with these Super X shells at the very least, I wouldn't call it anything super special yet. Now, of course, that's one shell, that's one load, and I've got a bunch more stuff we're going to try through it because who knows, a triple-aught buck shell could be absolutely nasty through that choke. We'll see what happens as we continue to test it, but to get a baseline here, it did okay with the Super X stuff. It's definitely not a horrible pattern. We've seen way worse, that's for sure. But at least now we've got something to go off of from here. Alright, well, what do y'all think about that performance right there? Again, that is not a bad pattern whatsoever. It's absolutely usable the way it is. Out to 40 yards, it's gonna do the job for what you need it for. But for a starting point here, it's a solid performance, but I don't think it truly gave us any super tangible or noticeable improvement. Might have condensed down the 9th pellet flyer or something, but other than that, I don't think it made that big of a difference, to be honest with you. That is a very average performance right there. Now again, that's one shell, that's one load, and we're going to test it a bunch more. So if that's a decent choke, which Carlson's makes some good chokes, that's for sure, we should be able to find that it patterns some shells way better than just a stock choke would. So we're going to continue our testing and see what we get. At least now we have a baseline, and if the trend continues that it doesn't really do much, then we know that it's probably just not worth getting that choke, but we'll see what happens as we continue to test it. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you surprised one way or the other? Have you ever tested one of these Carlson 700 buckshot chokes? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from it? Is that a pattern or a combo you would ever use to hunt with or anything like that? And what other loads do you want to see us run through that buckshot choke? Leave all your thoughts down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.